All right, welcome back to the Powers on Sports podcast. I'm Jason. We are welcome to bring in, for his multiple visits now to the podcast, Mike Nabors, the CEO of the Nabors Media Group. Mike does work with the New Orleans Saints for Your View TV. He's also the creator of the Errands YouTube series, where he follows around New Orleans Saints legends from the past and present. Mike's heading into season 3 of the Errands series, and welcome back to the podcast, Mike.
Mr. Powers, good to be on with you. How are you?
Good. Well, you were at this epicenter of some drama there Sunday in the Superdome. First of all, give the audience a scene of Halloween night in New Orleans, Superdome with the Bucs in town.
It's crazy, my friend. You know what? I think when the NFL schedule makers found out that, we have Jameis Winston as the starter for the New Orleans Saints, we're going to make sure it's Halloween when we have that Bucs game. I'm just surprised they didn't have a Sunday night game, because that would have made it even more electric in New Orleans. But, that would have been enough. And you really feel for Jameis Winston first and foremost, because, say what you want to say about him, the decisions he's made on and off the field, but he's always worked hard. He's always been a popular guy in the locker room, and they love him in New Orleans, just like they loved him in Tampa in that locker room. So you hate to see anybody get hurt, but he worked so hard, bided his time with Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Took some humble pie. Was the starter for 5 years. Just sat in the sideline and learned, and looked really good early on in the year. I mean, Sean Payton had reined him back a lot, but was making better decisions. And I think a lot of it was attempts. I mean, Bruce Arians had him throw the ball, Jason, over 600 times in Tampa. He was on pace to go well below 400, his current rate with Sean Payton. So he was going toe-to-toe with Brady early, gets hurt. But Trevor Siemian, I mean, to me, it really shows how great Sean Payton is, because he's the 5th different quarterback he's won a game with. Breeze, you have Taysom Hill, you have Jameis Winston, you have Teddy Bridgewater, now Trevor Siemian. Drew Brees is the future Hall of Famer. He's a great player. But the fact that Sean Payton can adapt like this really shows what kind of coach he is.
No doubt about it. And for those of you that don't know, it's been confirmed Jameis has a torn ACL and also has some MCL damage as well. Obviously going to be done for the season. The big question for the Saints is, where are they going to go at quarterback? You obviously have Siemian. How you can probably give us an idea how far away is Taysom Hill from coming back? You got Ian Book. The trade deadline is approaching. We're taping this on Tuesday of the actual trade deadline. Are the Saints in the market for a quarterback, i.e. maybe a Cam Newton, i.e. maybe even a guy like a Phillip Rivers a couple weeks down the road if things don't go well? What are your thoughts?
Maybe even a Teddy Bridgewater that they could pry from Denver potentially. Sean Payton has said repeatedly all week that we like our quarterback room, which says we're not going to go out and trade for anybody. And he really hinted after the game, Jason, that Taysom Hill would be the answer, because he said even if Taysom Hill would have been active, that Siemian would have gone in, because that's the way it works in New Orleans, that Siemian would have gone in and Taysom Hill would have been the Swiss Army knife guy. But now things are interesting. He's had the concussion. He's gotten better. I think if Taysom Hill is good to go, he'll be the quarterback and Siemian will be that reliable backup. But it's interesting because, Sean Payton has really taken pride in what he's done with Taysom Hill in so many ways. But boy, he has a lot of detractors in New Orleans. It's a gimmick. He's not a starting quarterback, but he did go, 3-1 last year with Drew Brees being out, and beat the Atlanta Falcons, who they're playing this week. So, Taysom Hill's done a lot of things to make himself a better quarterback. So I think that's the route they'll go if he's back. But we'll see. The concussions are tricky, as Bucs fans know. Dali Marpet last season.
No, you're right, and I think one thing Payton probably realizes that his strength of his team's on defense this year. They're not going to be a 35, 40 point a week scoring offense. They're going to try to win games 21-17, 24-17 kind of games, because that defense is legit.
Absolutely. And you make a great point, because as good as Drew Brees was in New Orleans, really that New Orleans defense has carried them since 2017. Brees hasn't been the same guy the last couple of years. And, when he went down and Teddy Bridgewater was 4-0, you give credit to Teddy Bridgewater, but the defense really carried the load in that stretch. So, you always think of Sean Payton, you think of Drew Brees and all these numbers, but boy, the defense really has carried the load. And Bucs fans saw it last week. I mean, Tom Brady had a great game, over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, but he made some crucial mistakes, and that's on Brady, but it's also on the Saints defense for making those plays.
No, Dennis Allen's done a great job, and he'll be a guy that I think will get another opportunity as a head coach here in the very near future because of his work here with the Saints defense. And like you said, for whatever reason, they just have the Bucs number, especially defensively. Dennis Allen kind of knows the route combinations the Bucs like, crunch time, things like that. And you have a great front four in New Orleans too. Jordan Davenport's playing well, which has always been a big issue for Brady.
And Onyemata came back in the middle of that D line. I mean, they lost Malcolm Brown to the Jaguars. They lost Shelton Rankins. And they've had guys like one of my favorite names of all time, Shy Tuttle, these role players step in the interior of that defensive line. But David Onyemata is a guy a lot of people don't know about around the league, but he's a very talented player. And he was in on that fumble with Tom Brady. So he's a big part. And he makes Cam Jordan get better because Cam Jordan's getting up there. But if he has Davenport and Onyemata, it makes him better too.
No, you're right. So when we're taping this at the trade deadline. Do you see the Saints being active at all? Maybe for a receiver? Or there's some speculation that they might be in the receiver market. What's the status of Mike Thomas? I know he's been on PUP all year. How far away do they think that he is from playing?
Seems like every time I check, it's another 2 weeks. So I thought he'd be back in October. Here we are in November. I would say it's week to week, but here's a stat that I came up with for our pregame show this week that really tells you a lot about Sean Payton again as the head coach. He's won with different quarterbacks besides Breeze, but Alvin Kamara is the leading wide receiver for the Saints, right? Okay. Besides him, the true wide receiver who's led the way is Marquez Callaway.
Right.
Jason, he's 108th in the NFL in terms of receptions. They're winning with guys like Alex Arma, a fullback who caught a touchdown against the Bucs.
Troutman.
Jared Griffin. Yeah, Troutman. Kevin White, who was a bust for the Chicago Bears. And this is the one I love the most. Chris Hogan, who was a lacrosse player last year, came back, caught a touchdown pass, and had a couple decent games. Over the bye week, just decided, you know what? I'm retiring. I want to spend more time with my family. So that's the way it's been. I mean, it's remarkable the Saints have done what they've done with the quarterback situation last week and the musical chairs at wide receiver. It's amazing.
No, and an under the radar move that I think will really help the Saints in their again offense approach moving forward. Reacquiring Mark Ingram, a energy guy in the locker room, a guy they loved in the locker room, didn't want to see him leave. Him and Kamara have a great relationship. Him and Sean Payton. Talk to us about Mark Ingram back in the fold.
Man, I'm glad you brought him up. He's one of my favorite Saints of all time, and I've covered him since the beginning of the Payton era. And the reason I like Mark Ingram is because when Alvin Kamara came into the league, a lot of veterans, they don't want to be nice to rookies. I mean, look at Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. You see it at every position. But he embraced Alvin Kamara. They did interviews together. He helped him at practice, helped him during games. And Alvin Kamara likes Mark Ingram so much, he lobbied for him to come back even this time around. So Mark Ingram is a class guy, a team guy, a great locker room guy. And I thought he would contribute. He did a little more than I thought he would against the Bucs. And it's funny. He started out, wearing 28, and then he was 22, maybe it's 22, then 28, and now he's 14, which is kind of weird. He tried to he came back like, what number do I go? I'm going to go 14, I guess. But Mark Ingram, they love him. And they brought back Malcolm Jenkins a few years ago. It's rare you get rid of somebody in the Payton era and you bring him back. But Malcolm Jenkins and Mark Ingram have been exceptions. You even had a weird case like Kenny Stills, who wasn't a popular guy, and they brought him back too. So, they like somebody, they know that they can contribute, step in and know their system. They're going to do that.
Absolutely. All right, let's get a couple topics around the league, and then we'll move on. What are your thoughts on the Chiefs' struggles here in the last few weeks? It's been crazy how these defenses are playing the Chiefs too deep zone, making them run the ball, and they just refuse to run the ball consistently. What are your thoughts on Andy Reid in Kansas City?
Well, it shows you how hard the NFL is. And I don't care who you are. If they figure you out, even if you're the great Patrick Mahomes, you're going to have issues. And he's learning he can't be Superman anymore. He can't do everything by himself. And I mean, they were lucky to win that Giants game. I mean, he had the interception late and they called it back. And I think the defense has been exploited a lot. Steve Spagnuolo, I know guys that I've covered that don't like his system. They don't feel like he plays to the strengths of a lot of people. He's had mixed success in the league. Let's be honest about it. He had success with the Giants, wasn't a good head coach with the Rams, won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, but now they're having problems. So I think if you combine the defense having problems and the offense, people are catching up to them. I mean, this is a smart league. Everybody gets paid. Everybody schemes. As great as Patrick Mahomes is, he's got to adjust, and he's got to continue adjusting. That schedule for the Chiefs is brutal. coming
Yes.
up. So they got the Packers, they got the Raiders, they got a lot of tough teams. So it's not going to get any easier for those guys.
No doubt, no doubt. Trade deadlines upon us around the league. You already seen a couple moves. Tuesday, Von Miller goes to the Rams.
Yeah.
What a stacked NFC. I mean, you got the Rams, you got the Bucs, you got the Packers, you got Arizona. New Orleans is a very dangerous team as a 5 or a 6 seed. The NFC is loaded.
Yeah, I mean, they're all in LA, obviously. I
Yep.
mean, they've given away the draft picks, I think, for the next 30 years, and they don't have much coming down the pike here. But you got Matt Stafford. You know what? I'm objective when I say this. I like seeing guys like Matt Stafford do well.
Yep.
He was been, hidden, really. You knew he was talented, but he played in Detroit. It kind of made me wonder, man, what if Barry Sanders would have gone to a great team later in his career? How much success he would have had? He would have had a lot like Stafford's having. So I like seeing that story, but I think the key with the playoffs, the way they are now, and all these great teams, man, you got to win your division. You got to get that, first round bye. You got to get home field. That really helps you, man, with all the competition there. So I know that's helped the Saints in recent years. It didn't help them last year, eventually with the Bucs, but it helped them early. But winning that division is huge. And boy, with the Saints beating the Bucs, that makes the NFC South very interesting, because it's definitely a case of the haves and have-nots, because the Saints and Bucs are good, and let's face it, the Panthers have fallen off, and the Falcons aren't that good. So it'll be interesting to watch how those two teams do moving forward.
I mean, right now, New Orleans is in first place. So they got the head-to-head with the Bucs. Both got 2 losses. I mean, so right now the Bucs are a wild card team, and the Saints are, be the 3 or 4 seed if we started the playoffs today, which obviously we don't. So, all right, let's get away from the football field a little bit. Talk about some of your endeavors off the field. Talk to us about season 3 of Errands.
You know what? I really miss, as a reporter, getting one-on-one interviews with people, because in the social media age, athletes, they have a platform and you don't get to know them as well. So I created this series called Errands, where we run errands with sports celebrities, and they pick out the errands. And the bulk of it, though, are the conversations that we have in the car between the errands. And we started with Dick Vitale. The Saints saw that, so they signed me to a 2-year deal. We just renewed for 2 more years. And we started off with Jim Mora. And I know many of your podcast listeners know who Jim Mora is. When you think of Jim Mora, he's not going to like me saying this, but it's true. You think playoffs. You think diddly poo. You think all the rants in New Orleans. But Jim Mora, to his credit, in our Errands series, and you can see it up on YouTube now, you go Jim Mora and Errands, he embraces all of it. And one big takeaway I have is he's hot and cold with it. He kind of laughs about it, but he also said, when I pass away one day, they're going to say, oh yeah, there was that coach who said playoffs. He said that to us, but he also said, Jason, this is incredible. He lives in California now, and he still gets fan mail every week, at least 15 to 20 letters. And most of them are from a younger generation of fans who want him to sign not only Jim Mora, but they want him to put playoffs under the signature. And depending on his mood, he does it.
And people don't realize Mora was the first coach for New Orleans to really bring them to playoff prominence in the late 80s, 90s. He really built a great program. He was an unbelievable coach in the USFL. That's kind of where he made his name as a head coach. I mean, he really brought the New Orleans Saints franchise back.
One stat I love about Jim Mora, and you're absolutely right, they didn't have one winning season before he came along. He took them to the playoffs for the first time. He had 5 winning seasons. When he left, he had more victories than the Saints had the entire amount of years before he arrived. That's how much his impact was felt. It's amazing.
No, you're right. You're right. All right. So give us a couple lists of people you got on the Errand series. You got Jim Mora. Who are some other guys we can look forward to seeing?
Well, it's not cemented yet, but we're talking to Jonathan Vilma, because Jonathan Vilma was the heartbeat of that Saints defense when they won a Super Bowl. Of course, he went to the University of Miami, played for the Jets, was a first-round pick. I want guys like that who are vocal, opinionated. Jim Mora obviously falls in that category. We had Roman Harper, who was fantastic. But what's great is we've even had guys like Marcus Colston, who didn't say a lot when he played, but he's a successful businessman now. He's a college professor. So you get to know guys that in a different way than when they played, because Marcus Colston used to always tell me, I don't like answering the same questions over and over again. And it's not the media's fault. It's just in the locker room, you kind of get that. So when you take many of these players away from their careers and away from the media horde, you get different perspective. And that's what this series is all about.
No, it's a great job. I definitely recommend to everybody that, he's done an unbelievable job. He's had Archie Manning on previous years. What are your thoughts on the Manning cast? I'm sure you catch a little bit of that.
Oh my, that's the best television in years. I love it. I mean, you know what's great about it is you like football anyway,
Yep.
but if it's a game, maybe it's the Packers against the Lions, you could care less about. You want to watch the Manning cast, the guests they get. And you know what? It's a great combination of entertainment, but knowledge too. I mean,
Yep.
I remember earlier in the year when Aaron Rodgers was playing and Peyton Manning stands up and he talks about footwork and how when he made a throw, his feet have to be aligned with the wide receiver. When Aaron Rodgers makes a throw, his feet are like all over the place and he can twerk and he can make all these throws. And you know some of that, but the way they explain it, you learn about the game. Yep. and you laugh. I mean, I thought Tom Brady was great with them. I mean, every guest they have I mean, it's just a great idea. I just wish they were every week, Jason.
Right.
That's the frustrating part.
Right. And some of the funny things are the brotherly things. They're
Yes.
showing, they record Peyton Manning destroying chicken breasts at halftime. He's hungry and he's just destroying the chicken breast, and Eli's killing him about how he's eating the chicken breast, and because Peyton's only got like 7 minutes of halftime to do it, he's just killing it like me and you were at Hooters killing chicken wings.
But you know what? Absolutely, or the armpit sweat that he has. Yes. And I love just real.
Yeah, exactly.
Real. And that's what most people appreciate, that you can admit your faults. Everybody has siblings, most people, or you have a family member who you like to kid with, so you can relate to that. I love that, what you just said about the chicken wings. And I love last week when they were in Seattle and the Saints were up there, because I DVR'd it, man. I had to come home and watch it after that. But Matt Hasselbeck out in the Ring of Honor. And of course, he has a brother and they all played together growing up. And then Peyton said, yeah, I love that Matt Hasselbeck's in the Ring of Honor. I'm so happy for the family. Remember when we played with them? It was like Cooper and I played with the Hasselbeck boys. Like, Eli, what were you doing? You were playing with your blanket, weren't you? That was great.
All right, where's Archie Manning going to commit to? Come on now, You're the insider.
I keep hearing Texas or Georgia. I think it's going to come down. I hear Alabama's in there, but man, if I'm Arch, I go to Texas or Georgia, because let's face it, both of those programs, if you get a quarterback, you're going to get everybody else. Yes. They're going to follow you in that recruiting class. You played college football, you know that. If you get the alpha, they're going to follow you because of the alpha. Look at Jameis Winston when he played at Florida State. Yep. You had Kelvin Benjamin, you had Freeman, you had all those guys. So I think at the end of the day, if I had to guess, it'll be Georgia or Texas. And I've seen Kirby Smart at a lot of Newman games on Friday nights. I'm going to go Georgia if I had to pick.
Yeah. They actually played a couple weeks ago, Berkeley Prep. Me and you were both in Tampa. They played Berkeley Prep in New Orleans a couple weeks ago. That was on TV, and you're right. They showed Kirby Smart there. All right, last question, get you out of here. Rumor has it you're now a professor, man. What's this rumor I hear about you being an academia professor Nabors? Tell the audience about Professor Nabors.
How about that, my friend? I went back to get my master's degree. I appreciate that. Just for the sole purpose that I wanted to teach, because I've been wanting to teach for a long time, but I didn't want to teach until I'd been in the business a long time. And frankly, I thought I would teach a reporting media course, which I would have been fine with. But the group at Florida Southern in the business school, Michael Weber, who's the dean, I met with him, and he's great. He's a forward thinker. He is a risk taker, and he thinks outside the box. And he gave me a course called Sports Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and he just let me run with it. And we have had great guests every week. We had Bucs COO Brian Ford the first week. We had the CEO of Smack Apparel the second week. This week we're bringing in some great guests too. We're going to have Byron Kennedy, who had Tom Brady's ball, and he's going to give us perspective. So I try to give my students something every week. This week's guest is Dr. William Sutton, who started that Vedic sports management program at USF. So It's a good mix of a lot of different topics in the sports world. We're going to have the Rays marketing person on later in the year. We're going to have digital marketing. So I love what I do. You love what you do. I want to talk to my students, and we're going to give them all kinds of options every week. And hopefully at the beginning of class, I had them all write down what they want to do. If at the end they still want to do it, that's great. Hopefully they'll be more passionate about it, but then they may learn something in this class where they'll find another avenue too. And that's really the goal.
That's awesome, man. That's a great, that's a great way to give back to the future of the media and the sports media group. I know you've got a long storied career, so congratulations to you for giving back and doing something you love. Cause I know you enjoy the teaching aspect of it as well. All right. Tell everybody where they can find Errands again, and where they can find the Nabors Media Group and all the things you're doing.
Everything really I put on Twitter at Mike Nabors. That's NAB as in boy ORS. Or you can go on YouTube, hit Errands Saints or Errands Jim Mora. Or if you hit Errands Saints, you'll see most of them. But we're hoping to expand it. We had a lot of negotiations in progress, and I'm preaching the choir. Everybody had to deal with COVID, but COVID really hurt Errands in a lot of ways. But we're bouncing back now, like many people are post COVID. So I appreciate it, man. You do a great job. Anytime you need me, I'd love to hop on with you.
Last question. I know it's Tuesday. We're recording this. Who's winning the World Series? Braves or Astros?
Braves, man. Got Braves.
I'm with
Braves.
you. You and I both got some experience in the South working and living. Braves fan, man. Let's go Braves. Here we go.
Even though Atlanta, man, they can't have another Falcon Super Bowl, man. Braves got to resurrect Atlanta, and they're sports fans. Do it, Braves. Come on.
Let's go. Let's go Braves. From Skip Carey back in the day.
Oh, I love Skip Carey.
All right, Mike. Appreciate the time, man. Keep up the great work, and we'll catch up to you real soon.
Anytime, my friend. I enjoyed it.
All right. We'll be right back on the Powers on Sports podcast.